Hey, how are you guys doing? Welcome back to SureFire Live. I have almost a repeat of last week in some ways. I have my same guests on, Alan Rush, because I noticed there were some questions and some conversation on Facebook, especially in some of the forums I'm in, about marketing and what to do with marketing. And, just through my conversations with different chimney companies around the country, some people are starting to slow down. Some people are a little worried about what to do, make the phone ring. The phone was ringing off the hook. Everybody had so much work, so many things to do, so busy, couldn't stand it. And in some places, in some areas, the phone has stopped ringing. In some areas, it's still ringing quite a bit. And so there's a nervousness to, if the phone stops ringing, we're used to taking incoming calls, fielding them, getting technicians out, and we're used to the need of our services. And what we're not used to is being an outbound call center or doing other things that we're going to talk about tonight to make the phone ring, to make the company busy. And again, if you don't have this problem, congratulations. If you do have a problem, we may have some ideas, some answers, some thoughts onto how to serve. Because here's the thing, if you can't figure out how to make the business pretty solid year round, it's hard to grow the business. And then it's also because you can't ever have enough guys in the fall and winter, and you can't keep them in the spring and summer if you can't figure out this equation. Again, several companies, chimney companies have, but several companies may be new to this, especially if you're new and growing. Sometimes this is a really scary time of business. So with that said, I do want to say one more thing before, well, actually, I'm going to bring Alan on, and then I'm going to talk about the event we're going to do this week. Hey, Alan.
Hey, what's up, man?
How are you tonight?
Another hotel, another beautiful day.
You're such a trooper, man. You're out there. I'll tell you, you're gathering so much information on our industry. And not that you're sitting there gathering it, but you're gathering so much knowledge. And even today, you said something funny that a technician said about a thing that we always hear, and he had a unique response to it. And you get a ton of experience like that, which is, it's a lot of work on you. And I know it's tough, but it's also mind blowing how much you see. And
it is.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that a lot more. And I think this will be a great show tonight. Again, two-way conversation. I do have my Facebook on my personal up. And then, so if you want to comment on my personal Facebook page, that's great. And if you want to comment on any of the other things, I can see some of them, and others are on my phone. It's that weird thing that happens every week. So that being said, I want to talk real quickly. You and I are getting ready to head to McLean, Virginia, or McLean, Virginia. Do you know how it's said?
Yeah, sure. That's where I'm going.
McLean, Virginia, for the Mid-Atlantic Chimney Association. They've asked us to put on the business symposium there. And we've done it for a couple of years. And it was kind of a brainchild so that we could have business classes for some things, and then clearly there's other things that do technical and hands-on, but this is for the business owners or the managers of a business. And if anybody's still interested, there's still seats left. It has a really good attendance already. And if you go to chimneysafety.org, is probably the easiest way to buy tickets. Now you can also do it Zoom. And how many of these business symposiums have you done, Alan, for us with us?
Gosh, I mean, I think this is my fourth, maybe fifth. I know we've done at least 2 or 3 in Nashville, and we've done a couple at your office. We did one, I remember, at the Predators training facility. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then
that was the first one.
The first was that okay? Yeah. And then I kind of confuse those sometimes with the heat shields. We've been doing those for the last 9 years or so, and so it's been a blessing.
We did one out at John Caesar's place. We've done a few of the business symposiums, but some, we switch up the speakers. But there is a group of people, and some people go, "Oh, it's the same people." We always have a new presentation, but also a new take on old presentations, and we're always learning and updating. And the fact is, in our small industry, there's not a lot of people that want to teach business. We're always open for it. And if you got a great product or a great program, please get with me that you want to talk about, because we're doing the next one in Nashville, June 9th and 10th. And the one after that, we're working with Mike Fazy out in California to do one probably early September with his group. But we're open for other speakers. But at this point, we love doing it. Most of all of us volunteer for it. And we just love trying to see this business grow. So
I'm just doing it for the money,
yeah,
that's the only reason. And for people that don't know, I never charge a penny when I do these. I'm just kidding.
And neither have I. I've never charged a dime to anybody. I mean, some of the places have to charge, but I don't charge.
Yeah.
I don't charge them to speak. I do it at no charge, and we volunteer, and you volunteer. John Caesar's volunteering. Tommy Nell's volunteering. And then some people have to be paid, and it's different, but I'm not one of them, and neither are you. And I appreciate you always volunteering to help, and you always reach out to help any way you can. Quick thing, I got Rob Jorgensen says, I'm driving from Wisconsin to Plainfield, Indiana for Class CSI. Keep me awake, guys. Yes, nice. Sir, Rob. We will do our best. I took a couple caffeine pills, so I'm ready to rock. My wife said, you're kind of animated tonight. I'm like, caffeinepills.com, So
I actually just had a coffee, so this could be dangerous.
This is my 4th or 5th Zoom today. I have been on Zooms all day, so I got to do something. You can't keep drinking coffee because your bladder just, talks.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So anyway, thank everybody for joining us tonight. So tonight, I asked Alan to join me back again because I wanted to talk about sales and marketing. And a lot of people think it's the same thing, and it's very, very different. And if you don't understand the difference, we're going to talk about it, but also help you understand that that you can do one great and totally fail at the other, and you still have bad results. Like, you need to do both of them. And so I asked Alan, because he really understands this. Alan, talk to the group about, you basically came from a marketing background and moved into sales. Can you tell people about your background, how that worked?
Yeah, so my background, to be clear, is completely sales, right? Like for the last 25 years, that's all I've lived and breathed is sales. But about 9-10 years ago, I joined as vice president of a marketing company in Nashville, and worked with a lot of people in the chimney industry, and great company. And we kind of I met you actually, I think at a B&I event. God, it had to be 9-10 years ago, and I gave my little 60-second spiel, and you're like, hey man, come talk to me. And I'm like, chimneys, man, what are those? People do that? That's a thing, like for real? Okay, let's figure it out. And so we started working with your company and started helping you with some marketing stuff. And it didn't take long to that's before I even know who you were, that I was like, all right, dude, you don't need my help with marketing. Like, you're probably one of the most intuitive marketing people that I've ever met. You got the marketing thing down. Where we're seeing some struggles is once the phone rings, then what, right? Are we seeing conversions whenever your CSRs answer the phone to get your guys in the field? Are we tracking those things? Do we know why we're not booking appointments? And then once we get our guys in the field, what are the results of that, right? We could get people in the door, but if we weren't making money from those opportunities, then what was the point? And it's very easy. People do this blame game, and if you've heard me speak before, especially a long time ago in heat shields and things, sales likes to point at marketing, and marketing likes to point at sales. And so you really need to know, is the problem a marketing problem, or is the problem a sales problem? And so that's kind of where we started our dichotomy, and we really got into the sales training aspect of things. Is most people didn't have marketing issues, and as you started this talk, I literally had 3 people this week, and some of them I think are watching right now, reach out to me. It's like, hey man, the phone's slowing down a little bit. Like, are you seeing this across the nation? Like, is this just me? Am I doing something wrong? Like, what's going on? I'm getting a little anxious, getting a little nervous, and so we're starting to see that shift. And the reality is, man, we've had such a good ride, right? We've had such a good ride for so many years that some of the newer people that are getting into this, they haven't had to feel this seasonality yet. Right. And now all of a sudden, we're starting to see some of that again.
Hey, Stephanie Roselli, by the way. Speaking of marketing, Stephanie, I've known her she's worked with marketing companies and advertising companies. So, hi, Stephanie. Thanks for saying hi. But so let's just talk about that for a second. Well, for an hour. So in that, when I met you, the thing that attracted me about what you were saying was you're like, we're a marketing company. We can take your message and more importantly than just taking your message and blasting it everywhere, we're going to do a survey on your company. We're going to understand all your customers and we're going to understand more about your customers than you realize.
Yep.
Then all this public data is a little bit scary about what you can
Yep.
find out about a customer. We're going to give you that. We're going to look at your best customers, and then we're going to mirror that against the people who should be your best customers that aren't, and we're going to target and market them. And I'm like, wow, that is another level of using data to market. And that's how you and I got together. But, and you guys were doing that for several companies, and it's not part of their process now, but you guys realize we could drive all the marketing in the world and have the best program, and then your customers are still mad at you because they're going broke or they think it's not working. So explain to people, and I'll put my spin on it too. What is the difference between marketing and sales?
Marketing makes the phone ring. Marketing brings the opportunity to you. Sales is your ability to convert that opportunity into profitability and revenue. I mean, it's really that simple.
So a lot of people miss this, and especially as you start to grow and add trucks. As the owner, when I was the main guy selling, I had a natural ability to sell, and most people bought whatever I was talking about. And it wasn't sales. It wasn't the dirty word as Chad was talking about being sales. It was just me talking to you. And when I tell you need something, you either bought it or you didn't. And most of the time you did buy it. So I got super busy. And as I talked to people, I got so busy, I needed another guy to help me do the work, and another guy, and another guy, and another guy. Pretty soon I would just talk to people, and magically 3 trucks were busy full of work.
Yep.
But where this started to fall down on me is when I hired the next guy to do a sales and talk, and the next guy, and the next guy. They didn't close like I did. They didn't convert like I did. And therefore, all of a sudden, we were running 3 or 4 trucks, and we were running out of work to do. I'm like, because they weren't converting like I did. And so I'm like, well, just tell them what it is. I mean, it's easy to sell this stuff. I'm like, I'm trying, but nobody's buying. And then when I crashed my company and I had to get rid of everybody, I'm like, nobody's buying them. It's so bad that we crashed. I go back out there and immediately I like everybody's buying again. Like, it wasn't just happenstance. It was something that most owners are pretty good at. It's hard to transfer that over to employees, and that's where you come in. So talk to us. So right now, people think they have a marketing problem, but they just came through a gold mine of so many jobs to bid. They didn't even care if they got them or not. So talk about that little phenomenon.
Well, for sure. I mean, everybody's talking about, oh my gosh, no new opportunities, no new opportunities. The phone is slowing down. Like I've got 4 trucks, and I'm like lucky to get 1 or 2 appointments to them, out this week. And all I say is go look at last month. Go pull a report from last month and show me how many proposals you delivered, and show me how many dollars are open. Right? Let's take a different view at this. You're looking forward, but where's your rear view mirror, right? Like what has happened? And one of the most vomit inducing numbers that a chimney company can produce is the amount of proposals that they have on the table that haven't closed yet.
It's a gold mine. It's a fortune.
It's absolutely disgusting. And on average, what I see in the industry is for every dollar you close, there is between $1 to $1.3 that's open. So if you are a $2 million company, then I can almost without a doubt bet that you have somewhere between 2 and 2.4 million in open opportunities in that same 12-month period. And my question to you is, what are you doing about it?
Right. So recently I took a phone call from a friend of mine that, she's taken over a business, and she's like, hey, Mark, the phone has stopped ringing. I got bills to pay. I got things to do. I'm scared. I'm worried about what's going on. I said, you have an absolute fortune in data that you have given proposals. The people did not act on it. That is your number one new marketing. Don't buy Google AdWords. Don't buy stuff. Two prongs. One, you've got to reach back into that data. It could be even up to 2 years. And I'll talk about some tactics that we use for that. But you've got a gold mine in data. And you also probably have people that, if they're not answering the phone, they're probably sitting there with not a lot to do.
That's right.
Make the phone go out to those. But we don't like that because there's a lot of voicemails. There's a lot of no's. We love them begging for us, and we're like, yeah, we can't get to you for 4 months.
Right.
We don't like going, hey, do you mind if we do the work for you? That's a whole different feeling and conversation.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those like all the, we've been through seasonality. A lot of people haven't. And the most basic, simple things that we forget to do when we slow down. Excuse me, I've got a tickle in the throat here. I'm kind of mute. Yeah, you can't have a tickle in your throat anymore because immediately you assume you got the COVID. But think about the most basic things. Like, I could give you 5 things right now that would bring business to you. Like, are you every single person that you go and visit? Are you asking them to leave you a review? Every single person that you visit and do an inspection for, are you leaving them 2 or 3 cards to give to their neighbors? If that customer is a customer for you, then more than likely half the houses in that neighborhood are good opportunities for you. Are you doing what we used to call the 6-pack? Are you doing a door hanger, 3 to the left, 3 to the right, and leaving a very personal message that says, hey, I was just at Miss Jones' house at 123 Main Street. She had some issues with her fireplace that we were able to help her with. We were able to help her with. Typically, homes in the same neighborhood have similar issues. We'd love to come give an evaluation to make sure everything's okay at your place. Are you using the apps to say, hey, this is our top neighborhood areas. Let me send out a mailer or an email to these people. Are you going back to your open estimates and sending out emails or mailers and saying, hey, we noticed we proposed work to you and we haven't had the opportunity to fulfill that work yet. This is the time of the year where we can give you the best value, and we're currently running a whatever 5-10% special if we do this work before July. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on and on. Everybody is talking about, hey, what's not happening to me, because you're depending on the traditional methods. Yard signs, oh my gosh, the biggest ROI of anything that you can be. I've studied this forever. The number one ROI that you can do right now is yard signs. It costs you $3, and you're putting the prime problems that people in a yard that people know and trust. It's the best referral you can get. So when people look to me and say, Alan, I'm getting nervous, I'm slowing down, I always say, well, are you doing the absolute basics to make the phone ring and to get referrals and to reach out to your current base? Are you forward scheduling? Do you have a warranty management program? I mean, at a bare minimum, go back and find everybody you sold a heat shield to, find everybody that you sold an appliance to, and say, hey, don't forget that you made a large investment, and in order to protect that investment, you need to have an annual inspection and a cleaning if necessary. Have your people get on the phone. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, this is just like people are playing just because they're scared and they don't know. There's so much stuff that you're in control of that you can start making that phone ring almost immediately.
When you think you're the key to your business is that phone ringing, you're missing at least 50% of the potential in your business. To your point, there's programs out there too. I think one's called Cold Neighborhoods and Cold
Yep.
this. We've got to set up, so we call it In the Neighborhood, and actually April helped us set it up, was every job that we do, and it's an automatic thing out of our QuickBooks, and there's other programs that do it, but every house that we do over $2,500 worth of work to, every house within an eighth of a mile, I think we moved it to 16th, gets a postcard. Said, hey, we're in your neighborhood. We're on this street. No details. We did work on this house, and we found just what you said. Similar houses in similar ages have similar problems, and this is what we did, or something like that. And call for free evaluation. That's called In the Neighborhood. Great. It's a great program, but you mentioned something else too that I think a lot of people miss. I've worked with some home improvement or home like handyman services. And one of the things I work with some of them on was when they show up, they got called to install a ceiling fan or called to patch a drywall, whatever. But your customers do not know all the things you can do for them.
Mm-hmm.
chimney guys are a Swiss Army knife of ability, right? And and you've told me this before. A lot of times my guys will get called out on a chimney, but they forget to look at the other chimney, the
Yep.
wall that we could repair, the steps that we could do, the dryer vent, the driveway, like all the other services. So your job for you going out to home is one, make the most. Here's where the sales comes in. We're talking marketing, but the sales, when you get there, make sure that your customer knows everything you can do for them, not in a like a salesy close hard way.
For
Just
sure.
say, hey, we're called for the chimney sweep. But by the way, if you ever want to change this facade here, we can put a new fireplace in. We can do new stonework. If you ever need this done, we build outside fireplaces, fire pits. Just so you know, I did notice, if you ever want, I saw some bricks out of this. We fixed that. Like I remember one time a lady called me out on a crooked chimney cap, and I'm like, yeah, chimney cap's crooked, but that stonework, it looks like it's probably starting to leak, and we can waterproof that and fix that. Her whole house was stone. Next thing I know, for a
Right.
crooked chimney cap, I waterproofed her house. All of her surfaces got waterproofed, and it was like a sweet job on a crooked chimney cap. Make sure that they know all of the services you provide, if at all possible, not in a hard way, but just in an informative way. Because a lot of times, like, oh, I had no idea you did that. So before you answer, I got a couple quick things.
Yep.
Kevin Winter says on Zoom, zooming, right?
Zoom.
Exactly what we're doing. Secondly, legally zooming. Howdy y'all from Wichita, not Bart Ogden, but work for Bart. You were just out there.
I'm here now. Tell me who you are. I've probably just trained you the last couple of days. Yeah.
And then I had I had a couple. I wish I could post these, but I don't know why it doesn't. So here's a couple things. Joseph says, so I have a lawn company and a tent company, and we do maintenance for people. I'm looking to expand. Tell me what I need to do to grow. So we can handle that. Let's put a pin in that for a second. Kyle German says that's what we've been doing this month, calling all of our open inspections for repairs that weren't made. Exactly the right thing to do. He said we even offered a little discount, and we've had good success. I'm going to talk about that too, what we do, and then Stephanie Roselli, my friend, says love yard signs. Yes. So got some stuff to talk about. Let's talk about Joseph, who wants to know how to market and clearly sell his lawn company, tent company, and doing maintenance. What does he need to do to grow? You first.
Man, well, I tell you, so I live in South Florida now, live in near Fort Lauderdale, and probably the two most marketed or overabundance of services in that area are lawn care and pool service, right? I mean, if you picked up the phone or you even Googled lawn service or pool service. I mean, I'm talking hundreds, if not thousands, of options. Like impossible to facilitate that. So if I had a lawn care business or a pool service in an area where I was looking to grow, and I had certain neighborhoods and I had certain areas where I had already had people trust me with their business, I would leverage the heck out of those people. I would ask for lawn signs. I would ask for if I could leave business cards that they could give to their neighbors. I would ask if they're on Nextdoor, and could they go on Nextdoor and just say, "Hey, I had such a great experience with this guy. He did these types of things." I would ask them to go on Google and leave a review. I would ask them to go on to all of these areas where I knew people in my community, Facebook groups, I mean, almost every city in America now has a Facebook group where people can go and just ask for local city advice. Who do you recommend? And I would ask for my current customers to promote the heck out of me and say, "Hey, I'm a small business. I am starting. I'm just getting into this game. I'd like to earn more business in your neighborhood. You've been a great customer for me. I'd like to work with more people like you. Would you do me the huge favor of just putting my name out there and giving me an honest assessment of how I do for you?" That's absolutely where I would start, because that costs me no money outside of maybe a lawn sign or something.
The answer to a lot of your problems is on the other end of that phone, right? People don't love picking up the phone. A lot of people don't answer the phone on the other end, but your best marketing is you or your people outward bound dialing. And also, and so I'll get into a little bit of tactics on what we do on what Kyle talked about, a discount is so if I ever need to pull a lever in my business to make the phone ring, I do exactly this. I run a report on our open estimates. And you know this, I've done this for years. I get all of our open estimates, what we didn't close on, which with your help is less and less as far as a percent.
Good.
And it's true. Like we used to close, 30%. And now it's 50 to 60% on some things. And there's different numbers, but it's gotten a lot better through a lot of your help because we weren't just naturally good at. We're naturally good technicians. We're naturally good at writing reports. We're not trying to sell anything, therefore we don't. So, but to that point, I get a report on everything open, which is millions of dollars. I then have a postcard made that's kind of big. It's actually got a chimney sweep on it with handing cash to them. So we want to give you money to fix your chimney. And then inside that, there's some data driven, but it says, hey, we recently left an estimate. If you haven't had it done before, we're offering the best discount of the year. And we do that this time of year. And we offer a discount if we need to, or we say, hey, we're just going to keep 2021 prices before they go up, whatever you want to do. But if you haven't had it done, here's a thing to get to move the needle. And we might offer 10% up to $500 or 10% up to $1,000 or whatever our margin is. That's your decision, but something to move them off the needle. And here's the key. Don't miss this on this. You have to give it a deadline of like 30 days. Don't write it open-ended or it won't work. But if you put a deadline on it that they're going to miss out on potential money before your price goes up or whatever, before the thing goes away, it adds the level of anticipation that you need. So then we send that out. If you think the phone's going to ring off the hook because you sent one postcard, ask yourself when you receive a postcard in the mail, how many times you pick it up and go, oh, this was exactly what I was waiting for. Let me dial right now. Nobody does that. That's not how this works. Then I am a little animated, but then the office has a list of, we break up the list. We send out maybe 250 postcards a week. And it goes back a couple of years, basically. And we spread it out amongst the people in the office, and they start smiling, dialing, and they make notes. And just because somebody doesn't pick up, you leave a message. Say, hey, and you leave whatever message you need to leave and hang up. And we might call them a couple of times till they either say yes or they say no. But no answer is not a no. Man, we get on the phone and we make it rain. It's the number one marketing campaign that we do outward bound. Our open estimates, postcard, phone call, and then maybe another postcard in the late summer to put a button on the end of that campaign, and then boom, we're back into busy season.
Yep, it's beautiful. I mean, if I had $1, that's one of my favorite things. If I had $1 for every time, right? Like that, like, man, I'm waiting on the phone to ring. Well, make it ring, right? What do you, like if you're waiting on it, that means you've got time. So get to work.
Yeah, waiting on success is never in my playbook. Yep. If it's not happening, I'm going to have to go make it rain. And if you're a business owner, it is your job to make it rain. It is your job to put something in place to make it rain, to figure it out. Like my job is to make sure I've got work for everybody else. If they don't have work, it is my fault. If they're not selling, it ends up being my fault. If the phone's not ringing, I got to figure that out. So I take the job very seriously. So let's switch to yard signs. What is, I'd like you to say processes you've seen. Well, I got to say one more thing before I get into it. To tell everybody something about Alan, when he was with the marketing company and he started working with us, he goes, I want to be clear about something. I don't want to know anything about chimneys. I don't want to know what you do. I don't want that. I will be too close to the situation if I really learn what the hell you're talking about. I want to be up here and help you understand. And you are 180 degrees different than that.
It's so true.
So
I'm so mad at myself. I'm not a guy that does what he says he's going to do. Like I'm on like Voxers every day with you and Jim, and like, okay, man, what's the clearance of a B-band on a? And I'm like, what happened to me? What? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So let's actually before that, we got a question about this call. So this Vince, hey Vince, thanks for joining us tonight. Good evening, guys. What time of day are you making these calls to open estimate customers? When are you getting voicemail? When you are getting voicemails, are you logging and calling again? So I'll tell you what I've done, and maybe you have seen this other companies. So we call at any time during the day. When my girls have time throughout the whole day, they're calling. Now I understand they may not pick up. A lot of people work from home. A lot of people, you're ringing into their cell phone anymore. So it
Yep.
doesn't, we used to try to call when people are home. I don't want to be bothered when I'm home. And most of the time, if I don't know your number, I'm not picking up anyway, but I am going to listen to the voicemail. When it pops up, you left a voicemail, I'm at least going to open it up and read the translation and see what it was about.
Right.
So to me, it's Vince, anytime you can do it. And then always, to me, always leave a voicemail. Do not leave a voicemail because they don't know what it was. And then secondly, we do have a sheet on the side of every name, and we write some kind of note. Let LM or left voicemail. We might say does not want, we scratch it off, or whatever, booked appointment or needs a phone call, like something, some follow-up. So to that point, phone call anytime, definitely notes. And that's a gold mine of 2 years. That's a lot of work, but it's a lot of work for everybody to do because they might not be that busy. Their job is to make you busy. So what have you seen on kind of follow-up processes?
I think you just hit it. I mean, before cell phones, there was very specific days and times that mattered. Now I'm not, honestly, I haven't done research to. I'm sure if you there, and even April would probably know this. There's people that would know that. Hey, statistically, this is the day and the time that you're going to get the best response. I haven't kept up with that, but I know on emails, the most likely chance for me to respond to your email is one that you send in the middle of the night. Like if you send me an email at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm up having a cup of coffee and I'm just kind of going through my phone, that's when I don't have a plan or an agenda, and I'm just kind of just scrolling through, normally just swiping and deleting. But if something catches my attention, that if you send me an email in the middle of the day, it gets lost in the fold, right? I mean,
That's a
I'm
great
working,
point.
I'm in the field. So, but as far as phone calls, I wish I had more data to support a certain position. But definitely, I recommend emails, like have them blast out like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's the first thing somebody sees when they pick up their phone.
One other thing that we use on SureFire that some people should maybe know about is BombBomb.
Yep.
It's BOMB. Okay, that's a video service to put out a voicemail and you get or a message. It's not an attachment in the email. It is actually a link back to a server, so it doesn't come as an attachment. Now, the great thing about this, and here's one key on email, if you can write in the subject line whatever, but then you put a dash video, if you write video, I went through some courses with this program and they said it has like almost a 50% more open rate because people like to watch a video. And so if you can say, hey, best chimney deal of the year dash video, and then you make a note, hey, this is Vince from Chicagoland Fireplace. Just letting you know, we got the best deal of the year going on with all these prices going up. We're gonna counter that and have a little discount this time of year. Please take advantage of it. Our crews have more time this time of year. You know how it is. We get busy. So if you want your fireplace taken care of, we're the guys to do it. Best price of the year. Talk to you soon. And then,
Yep.
whatever the message is, but BombBomb is a nice message for that we've used for SureFire. And if you're a SureFire subscriber, you may have gotten our welcome videos on that. So again, Vince, so it's from Chicagoland. Hey, Vince, I haven't seen you for a little while, so thanks for saying hi. But what do you see? So you don't really have, activity is the main thing, right?
Yep.
So
Well, you got to be proactive, right? I mean, and again, I sometimes get just a little too direct with people whenever they're like, man, I'm struggling. I'm like, we're hurting. The phone's not ringing and this and that. And I just ask, well, what are you doing about it? And it's like, what are your people doing about it? How are you reaching out? What are you doing differently? Because if you're just if you're just expecting it to all of a sudden start ringing and you're not really doing anything different, I mean, that's hope's not a strategy, right? The whole
Well, and
thing.
also,
So
if they're not naturally calling you, a lot of people say, okay, I need to do more of Google AdWords or I need to advertise more. The problem is there's a difference in listing services and advertising and marketing, or
that's right.
especially branding. So listing services means Google, Angie's List, old school phone book, whatever. They already know they need you. So they go to look, and then there you better show up.
Right.
That's when they already need you. But what makes the phone ring is you branding it or sending them in an unknown way through the mail, through TV, through a process they weren't ready for, and then boom, leaky chimneys. That's why leaky chimneys work so well, was because they did not know to call me for leaky chimneys. They knew to call roofers, handymen, whatever. They got all the work. They didn't know to call me till we started advertising it. And they didn't know I did that service. So it was in your face. It was problem, and that we're the solution. You can
Yep.
do that with all types of things. Dryer vents. I don't love dryer vents. It's some money, but it's not awesome. Leaking chimneys is our number one most profitable thing. So whenever there's a chance, it's raining like crazy in Nashville. I have a marketing company that's ready to deploy my commercials right at during the news, during the rain. It could not be better. It's happening right now. My commercials are going and it's raining.
Yep.
So they call. So you got to find a pain point and that you market to it. So it might be, and it could be a pleasure point, which is like, that sounds bad, but sounds very inappropriate. But it's like outside fireplaces, fire pits, outdoor kitchens. Like, what are you going to make better for them? And man, you got to get proactive.
Well, and I tell you, something I think a lot of people miss out on, and if I'm being straightforward, I think your company misses out on is I'm with you. I'm not a fan of advertising dryer vents. Look, I'm all about being CDET certified. I'm all about doing dryer vents, but in my experience, the people that advertise dryer vents as a slow season service, those are the people that tend to get, I mean, just stuff that you don't want to do. You almost need an engineering degree or a contractor's degree to help this customer out, and the S shows, right? But what I'm a huge fan of is every time I'm in the home, and let's just say I'm there for a sweep and inspection, and hey, Ms. Jones, we're here to look at your fireplace. I didn't know if you knew our company is also members where we're CDET certified. There's actually more dryer vent incidents than fireplaces. While I'm here, I'm going to do a courtesy check for you just to find out if your dryer vent needs to be serviced or if it needs to be cleaned. I have a little device called an anemometer that's going to test the air pressure. If it needs attention, then I'll be happy to give you the attention or talk about what needs to happen. And then I have the choice as the salesperson to say, let's just say it does need service, but it's beyond my scope or my ability. I've got to go through two walls and through a roof and all this stuff. It's like, look, ma'am, you're not getting quite the readings that you need. And we do this type of service, but this is a little bit beyond the scope of what our company does. So it may make sense to reach out to a general contractor, a handyman, someone that may be able to help you with that. Or 9 out of 10 times, it's like, yes, ma'am, like, we're looking for this reading. You're here. This is the time that you probably should have this service. Normally I charge whatever 250 for the service, but when I'm already on site, it's only 175. You
Yeah.
do that 2-3 times a day, all of a sudden you've added $500-600 per truck per day and it's labor, right? I mean, there's no you talk about ways to generate opportunities. Are you working at it, right? Are you checking every flue? Are you checking furnaces? Are you doing courtesy checks of thimbles? Are you looking at utility flues? Or are you just going for what the customer asked for? And yeah, I mean, when times are slow, you got to work at it.
Here's the problem. Great times make us lazy.
Yeah.
And they make us forget the basics sometimes that got us there, because we get accustomed to a certain way. And if you have to be flexible in business and change. You got to adjust your sails right to the wind. If the wind changes, the wind dies. A quick story. I do sailing with John Meredith and stuff. Jim Brewer also is the captain of our ship or the helmsman. It just depends on if they're fighting or not. But most of the time, Jim is the helmsman. Let's just say. And Jim sails in most of the wind, but when the wind slows down a lot, or they call it off wind, John is actually especially talented at finding the little wind and making us move more than the other ones. Now, when it's bigger wind, Jim does it. I'm not saying Jim can't do the off wind stuff, but when it really slows down and dies, John's like, let me behind it and I can fine tune it. Well, he always said that in this one time, everybody was dead in the water. Sometimes a sailing race is not a race at all. We're just sitting there. Like, it sucks. Like, we're not moving. It's a race going a half a mile an hour at best.
Who's got the freezer whiskey?
Get out the freezer whiskey. Let's start up the grill, put up the shades. But all of a sudden, John found the little wind and when nobody else could find it. And all of a sudden, we just started moving past everybody. And everybody's like, do you got your motor on? Are you on the back of a humpback whale? Like, what? How are you moving and nobody else is? Because John could fine tune. He changed the wind change. We had to change the sails. As a crazy metaphor, it's exact. If the wind changes, you must change your sails. And we're trying to give you some ideas on the way, basically, you're used to the phones coming in. You got to get used to the phones going out. Real quick, it says, I used BombBomb with great success in the auto industry. Hadn't considered it for the chimney industry. What a great idea, because each video is personalized and tailored to your specific customer. Yep. Thanks for reminding me. It's exactly right. Now, you can have a general one that goes out to a group, or you can specify them. Say, hey, Mr. Smith, hey, I was going through your file. I saw that we had bid this. Had a great repertoire with you. If you had any considerations, I'm having a sale right now, and very personal. Man, you spend a day making those videos, man, the phone will ring.
100%.
Yeah. So, man, I love it, and I'm still amped up. The caffeine is still working. So, what else, Alan? What else are you seeing out there in a world that you did not want to be part of, and with reluctance, you are the master of sales? What else are you seeing out there? Do you mind telling what that guy said today?
Oh, no. Like, actually, I just saw that the one Facebook, and it might have been the same guy who just posted this. The other Facebook user was also named Bart at.
This was him.
Yeah, it's Lee, and Lee is. We brought him in as basically a new sales manager, and he's awesome. He's got a great sales background, and so he was in the last couple of days of classes that we got, and so yeah, we have this guy I've been training for a while, and just an awesome guy. I mean, just fantastic. And today we spent several hours doing what I call lambs. And if you've been through any of my sales training, you know what a lamb is. And a lamb is basically just if I say Mary had a little, there's really no other word on the planet that comes to your brain other than lamb. And so we use that with objection handling. There's only about 10 or 15 things that a customer can possibly ever say to you when you give them a proposal. And do you have a lamb for that, right? Are you prepared with a response? And so we were going through and just doing a bunch of role playing today and getting into to lambs. And I got to this one guy, and I started going through the grandfathering objection. And I'm playing the customer, and I was like, man, I've lived here for 20 years. I've been using this fireplace almost every day for the last 10, 15 years. I really haven't had any problems. It's functioning fine. I just really don't feel like I need to do this work. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure, I mean, this house was built in the 50s. I'm pretty sure all this work is grandfathered in. And the guy that I'm training he goes, oh yeah, he's like it's pretty amazing really how much stuff can change in the last 70 years. He goes, it just wasn't long ago we were giving kids cocaine for pain. He's like, we learn and we adapt and we move on. He's like, codes have updated because we learned that this is this type of stuff happens. And he went right. And I was like, dude, I am stealing that. I am calling it my own, and I'm not giving you any credit. And of course, I give this guy credit, but it just broke the mood, right? It was such a, we learn over time. And he's like, yeah, we used to doctors used to prescribe cocaine. It's just so true, right? Like and that wasn't long ago, and so So when you start looking at how things change, there's no grandfathering safety at the end of the day, man. I'm not the chimney police. I'm just here to tell you, that these conditions exist for something over time. Every time you use it, your risk increases, and kind of going through all that. But that was one of it's just great levity, and I told him I'm going to definitely use that.
I like tonight before this, right up 5 minutes before I get a call from a customer. I don't take many of them, but I've taken this lady kind of under my wing because she misunderstood. We go out and this lady had a leak. A roofer said, "Hey, you need the top of your chimney looked at. You got some work." We went out and looked at it, and she was convinced that we were going to do the work right there when we looked at the job the first time. So that's not really how we do it. We estimate it, inspect it, then give you a proposal. If you accept it, we send a team out that's fully prepared. We didn't have all this, it wasn't what we were prepared to do that day. And she was mad at us for not doing it right then. She's like, "I was clear on the phone. I told your people I needed it fixed right away." I went back and listened to her voicemail, and I had to clarify that. She said, "Hey, can somebody come look at my chimney?" Roofer said, I said, "You said come look at you." And then when my people said, "Yes, we will be there tomorrow," we didn't say we were fixing it. We said we were coming to look at it, which is exactly what you asked for. Anyway, she was mad. "I don't think I should do business with you guys." I'm like, "Well, you don't have to. But here's what, everybody said, you just need to put a little caulk on the chimney and it'll be fine." So, but the more direct I am with her, and I don't have to sell her. She's like, "I don't want to." It was $1,600 waterproofing. It's chase cover, quite a bit of work. Big chimney, like 60-foot tall chimney, but off the roof is 20. Blah blah blah. And I said, and the more direct I am with her and just telling her how it is, she's just buying. She's sending me pictures. I think I'm going to get a birthday invite soon because
Yeah, nice.
we flipped it around on her. And I'm not actually being nice to her. I'm being super direct and
Right,
telling her how it is because she wants to be a little bit belittling to my people and a little bit
right.
above us. And when I don't even play that game, she's
Yep.
just like, "Okay, just take my money. When can you get here?"
Yeah, for sure.
And again, I think that's part of the sales process of almost the takeaway sale. One of our friends that too, Lynn, is in the carpet business
Yep.
and the carpet cleaning business. One of the things he does right off the bat is he kind of tries to disqualify you. He tries to say, "Look, there's a lot of guys cheaper. I am not the guy." Like he will go on and on about how you probably should use somebody else. You know what I mean? It's the
Yeah.
takeaway. And then they can't wait to have him do it because he doesn't act like he even needs it all. Can you talk about that kind of I've seen guys do that to a level that's unbelievable.
Well, this happens a lot on the phone, and it's kind of funny we're talking about these things. I just did a little class on this today, and um, when people, most of the time, if I'm in a company doing a training, they're a higher end company in their market, right? They're probably at the top of the price point. They have a ton of competition that does stuff cheaper. They certainly have people doing sweep and inspections cheaper, right? There's people going out for free. There's people going out for half their price. And so when they go through and they give their value prop on the phone, or they give their price on the phone, it's like, "Hey, we do all this for $299," and the customer's like, "Oh my gosh, $299! I just called two other companies, and they were able to do it for $100, or they were going to come out for free." And it's like, why would I ever pay this? Which is why, and actually, I'm going to be talking about this a little bit at the MACA event Friday. So tune in on Friday. We're going to talk a little bit about value prop and differentiating yourself on the phone to deliver a better customer experience. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that the customer has no idea what you're going to do in the field at their home unless you tell them, right? Their perception is you're coming and running a brush Mary Poppins style. They have no idea that you're coming in and you're doing this very detailed, thorough analysis that takes all this level of certification and training. And so what I tell customers every time, to your point of the takeaway, is, look, we may not be the right company for you, but let me just make sure that you understand what we do, right? When you say that you want a chimney cleaning, in your mind, this is running a brush, getting rid of the creosote, maybe what you think getting rid of some smells. We're going to be in your home for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and the actual cleaning process is about 15 minutes of that process, right? The rest of the time, my guys are making sure, using very advanced training techniques and tools that the venting of your system is up to today's codes and standards. They're going to actually be running a color camera up your flue system. They're going to be checking it from inside to out, assuming it's safely accessible. They're going to be getting up on top of the roof, making sure everything's structurally stable, making sure that there's no points of water intrusion that could cause you future repairs or future interior damage. And what most people don't realize is the chimney industry is the most unregulated blue collar industry on the planet. Literally, you, Miss Jones, tomorrow you could be a chimney sweep, and there's nothing that says you can't start a business that tells your neighbor what they need to do to their fireplace. And when you really
Ooh,
think about
that's
venting,
good.
venting life.
Say that again. I like how you put that. Say that one more time.
Well, I mean, it's the most unregulated, unlicensed industry. You don't need to have any credentials to say that you're a chimney sweep. Like literally, as my customer, could start a business today as a chimney sweep and go to your neighbor and tell them what they need to do to their fireplace. And when you really think about it, that's a very scary prospect when we're
Ooh,
talking about venting poisonous gases, when we're talking about carbon monoxide, when we're talking about a live fire in the middle of your house. So yes, one thing I assure you, Miss Jones, you will find someone to come to your house for cheaper than I am. But is that what you want when you're venting a fire in the middle of your house?
that's
And
good stuff.
and so I'm going to defend my position. I'm going to be worth every single penny that I charge for that. That my guys go through. The only way you can know that my guys are up to date on today's codes and standards is that they have been through voluntary certification. It's really sad that it has to be voluntary in today's world. But we have the Chimney Safety Institute of America, we have the CCP, we have the we have all these types of things. The NSCG and CSG, that's the word I'm looking for, and all these things. So no matter who you bring into your home, at a bare minimum, make sure you know what they're talking about. And if someone's doing this for half the price that I'm doing, I'm not 100% confident they have the same credentials that my team does.
Yeah, most likely they don't. That's
Yeah.
that's probably for sure. Quick things. Kevin says, I constantly call random customers just to check up on them to see how things are going, especially those that need minor things done or just inspection. Or like today, decide doing another job at a homeowner's house, seen something and said that there was a lot of carbon buildup on your logs. Said while we're here, we can service that for X amount of dollars and made her happy,
Mhm.
right? Like you have to be opportunistic to all of your services. Not, and here's the problem: as owners, it's easier for us. As employees, sometimes they just want to get done and get home. They want
Yep.
to get done and be out of it. They don't want to add any. They don't want to look at it as an opportunity. Their opportunity is how fast can I get, because, and then how can I get home? Because there for a while, I noticed for us, sometimes amazingly, the last jobs of the day that were supposed to be sweeps ended up just being inspections.
Yep.
Like magically, like the four to 5 o'clock time slot or the 3 to 4 time slot always turned into a faster situation. And we watch for that. But anyway, to his point, again, it's a trained thing. Okay, so marketing and sales. To wrap it up, we're about 53 minutes. Oh, and also Kevin says, and explaining that makes a huge difference, which is to your point, how detailed that we explain is the next step. So let's just talk some stats real quick that you know, and I know these are anecdotal, but to that point, what are some of the closing? Let's just say your marketing game is solid, phones ringing, but your sales game is not good. What are some really rough percentages that you've seen that are good numbers? A healthy company has, so on the chimney sweeps or the estimates, like what are some percentages of closing rates that people should maybe look at to say, hey, I'm in the ballpark or I'm below or I'm above average?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've given these numbers before, and the sad part, and this really upsets people, is that if you have a really good company with a good reputation in your market that has solid reviews, you're good on Google, you're good on Facebook, you have a solid reputation that people are willing to refer and repeat. That on average, almost 25%, and these are some new statistics that I'm going to be releasing at MACA, but on average, about 25% of customers will do business with your company regardless of the individual that actually shows up. They're borrowing the credibility from the brand, right? Now, obviously, the person can screw it up and they can lose the business, but they have every intention of calling you because you're a company that they know can solve this problem. And as long as the person comes out and they're friendly and they seem like they know what they're doing, about 25% of your close rate is borrowing the credibility of the brand, right? So when you look at that, at a bare minimum, I could send day one John, right? As long as he can speak to people, and I should be at a 25% close rate, right? On average, what I see in the industry across the country is a average close rate for a sweep or an inspection, and the way that I call a sweep and inspection is what I call an unknown problem call. An unknown problem call is, hey, I just need you to come look at my fireplace. I need you to come sweep it. To my knowledge, everything's fine. Or I don't know. I've never used it. I want to see if everything's fine. I don't know of any issues.
Right.
35% is where my bare minimum, like if I'm not at 35%, and when you think about it, if I'm saying 25% of that's from the company, I'm really just talking about a 10% influence from the actual individual, which is an
So
extremely low number.
real quick question on that, and then Taylor
Yep.
Hill actually says something I want to bring up. But um, to that point of those, say 25, 35% range, how often are they leaving an estimate? Like, like you went to, 4 jobs a day or 20 jobs a week. How many jobs are you seeing people leaving estimates for?
Yeah, and I mean, so when I consider close rate, I only consider close rate from proposals given, not necessarily homes entered. So at a bare minimum, I want a 90% proposal rate. I call that the opportunity rate. So if I go into 10 homes, on average, I expect 9 of those homes to receive some sort of presentation. It could be as minimum as a refractory panel blackout with stove paint if I've got absolutely nothing, right? I mean, I want them giving something, right?
Yeah.
Uh, like we're going to find something in this home. Okay. But so assuming I give 9 proposals, 35% of those, I expect 3 to 4 of those to close, right? Now, if I'm talking about known problems, meaning the customers called me for a very specific reason, I have a leak, I understand you fix leaks. I have a smell, I understand you fix smells. I have a brick falling out of my chimney, I understand you do that. Then at a bare minimum, I expect that to be a 50% close rate, right?
Right.
And so those should be the baseline targets that you're shooting for.
I think those are good numbers. I think we were like at one point we were looking at, we thought, and Kent, when he came work for me, he goes, man, they're calling you with a known issue. 33% should be a given because they called you, they know they got a problem. And then probably 33 to 66% close rate was our target. If you're not 33, you're probably hurting the brand. If
Right.
you're 33 to 66, let's see if we can move with that. And if you're above a 66 or 70% close rate, you're probably closing too many jobs. You probably are leaving money on the table. You're
That's right.
closing a small amount, like not proposing everything. Could be you're proposing the easy wins or not proposing until you know it's a known win. And so we
All the time.
watched for too high of a close rate too. Can you talk about that other side of the scale?
Well, you have to look at all the metrics, right? So you have to look at opportunity rate, appointment rate, average sale, average opportunity, average appointment, close rate, all of those things. If I see a guy that has a 70, 80% close rate, I can bet you almost an unlimited amount of money that one of two things is happening: that his opportunity rate is low, meaning he's only going for the low hanging fruit, or that his average sale is beyond low, right? One of those two things. He's hitting the easy wins, he's hitting the home runs, he's not going for the full solution, and that guy is extremely dangerous for your company. That guy is, even though he may be making money and he may be looking like a rock star on the sales side, that guy is leaving your customer in a liabilious situation, leaving you. He's not bringing up things because he doesn't want to have the uncomfortable conversation. He's the guy that looks at the one joint, hey, you got 7 joints in your flue, and there's one of them that just has a little bit of mortar starting to missing, but let's just keep an eye on that because I don't feel comfortable telling you need to do a heat shield or whatever because you have this one joint. Like, I tell people direct, shame on you, man, that you're making that decision for the customer. You're potentially putting them in danger because you don't want to have an uncomfortable conversation about a $5,000 repair for one little joint. Present
Or
it.
or
Sorry,
you
go ahead.
don't want to do the work. Like
Or you
some
don't. Correct.
companies, the person leaving the estimates one's got to do the work. So if you find a prefab that's ruined and you got to tear it out, you don't want to tell them about it. You find an old
Yep.
heater that's rusted out. You're like, yeah, you put vent-free logs in it or whatever. Like you don't want to give the proposal for
Yep.
the hard thing. So you skip it and say, you'll be okay. Keep an eye on that rust or keep an eye on that bowing back wall or whatever the situation is. That's a dangerous situation too. But to your
Yep.
point, we've watched some stats in our company, and there were some guys that had super high close rates, but we watched and they actually weren't leaving very many estimates.
Yep.
And the ones they left, they knew were like winners. I'm like,
Yep.
what about the other so many estimates that we didn't leave? And so I think to the point, if you're a business owner, you need some watching on sales because it's literally a fortune. Either way, you either lose or leave on the table, or you didn't close and it's in your data and you need to pay attention to it. So a couple things. Rich Moore says, great tips, guys. Thank you. Bart Ogden, I love Bart Ogden. Thank you for the cast tonight. Great information. And then on my personal feed, Dan Sell says, great info. Here's what Taylor Hill said. Taylor says, and Taylor, if you guys don't know, is Spark Marketer, one of the best marketing guys in the industry, knows the industry so well. And I probably should have had him on this call too. But
Yeah.
Taylor says, just heard a stat that was surprising from another agency. Home service businesses close maybe 10% of the leads brought in overall. So that's interesting. We may be higher in chimneys, but home services in general are kind of bad. And I know that's true because my friends that are in roofing or contracting, when they have a lot more proposals against them, and I bet Joseph here that's in landscaping, where you've got a lot of competition, and to your point, pool guys that have 1,000 people that can do it, I bet that close rate is extremely low on all the opportunities you bring in, or you have a chance to do something with.
100%. It was all who we went to our neighbors. We got referrals. Who do you trust? I mean, there was no way. It's I can't even imagine just going to the internet and trying to find. There's 100 people. Who do I pick? Right? I mean, that'd be horrible.
Yeah, we're so fortunate in the chimney industry. I mean, in Nashville, we're one of 4 companies that are going to get a call, and Tommy Nelms is in my industry, in my area, and I hope they call Tommy. Like, absolutely call Tommy, and he's a great guy. And if he has a different solution you like better, I fully trust Tommy. Now, there's some guys that you don't trust at all, but ideally, that's where education helps, and where I'm a big fan of education for everybody. So at least we're on the same level playing field. I hate the guys that will go in and bid work or say you don't need something when it's a clear pictures and codes, and some dumb person has said you don't need all that. Oh, they always propose that. And I was telling you tonight, I had a lady that was mad at me. We proposed, this chimney was leaking. We proposed a new chase cover, water pressure washing the chimney, waterproofing, tuck pointing some areas, waterproofing it, and a couple things. And she's like, well, I talked to a real estate agent and they said you always propose that. I'm like, yeah, it's called a process. It's called the process that we developed. And yes, a leaking chimney has the same process. That's not a sign we're ripping you off. It's a sign we do it all the time. And there's a proven method. And she kind of relaxed, and I went through that with her saying, ma'am, do you think it's a bad thing that we have a process that we recommend the same things? But
you and I could go on, I think, for hours, and I know you got to wrap this up. I've got 4 or 5 really small like pet peeves in chimneys that just like drive me crazy. When things like one of the big, just a common one is like one of the very first thing a technician does when he goes in, and the first thing he does when he looks at the fireplace is fill the need with no drops, no anything, like to sit on the hearth and open the damper. It's like, it absolutely drives me crazy. It's like what are you hoping to accomplish here? You want to see if it's dirty? You're going to see that in a minute. What do you want to see if it's unparted? You're going to see that in a minute. And half the time they dust out the room, and it's just a terrible first impression. Like little things like that bother me. But to your point, and I see there's one more really good question there. One of my biggest pet peeves with customers, and we've talked about this before, is when they tell me they want to get another opinion, right? Like the word opinion goes through my blood like I can't even tell you. Look, man, I encourage you to feel comfortable with the company that you choose. Feel free to get as many people to come out and check this out for you as you like. But let's be clear about one thing. There is not one thing that I am going over with you today that is my opinion, right? There's not one. This is all hard facts. You were involved in the scan. You saw the pictures. This is a problem. This is a deficiency. This doesn't meet today's standard code. This is keeping you from using your system the way it's intended. This is allowing water into the home. This is not opinion, right? Now,
Right.
there are multiple ways to skin a cat. There are multiple solutions to these. And certainly, I encourage you to understand what's best for you. But one thing I assure you is that anything that anybody else comes and gives you is most likely a solution that I can also do. But the reality is, I'm giving you this solution because you told me A, B, C, and D, and that's the best solution for you. So the word opinion, oh, like
That's
you want to get me going. That's one of them.
That's a great point. Yeah. And I tell them, look, ours isn't based on opinion. It's based on codes that were there to help the homeowner, not us. Now we will use them, show them, and address them. But if anybody says this crack or this break or this hole or this, down undersized fluid or whatever is an opinion, that's actually a judgment call from them. I'm not being, if we wound up in court, and I've said this a decent amount of times, I'm going to win because they're going to take the book, the code book, or the CSI successful chimney sweeping, or the venting book, or the NFI, whatever the code. They're going to lay it here, and nowhere in that is judgment calls. We use that book to base our recommendations. Now,
Absolutely.
some of these things may be judgment, like, is the chimney going to leak? Well, you know that. I don't know. We both don't know because there's a million cracks in the chimney. Even the best built chimney has a million small micro cracks in it. Whether they find their way into you seeing them or somewhere else, I don't know that. But on codes and safety, that's a clear thing, and it's really not up for debate. To your point, opinion it should go through all of us.
Yeah.
I had a guy too yesterday. He said, your bid's too high. You guys bid $1,000 on a chimney cap, and I can get one for $100. And I said, and I responded back, I said, just to be clear, I mean, I'm not trying to sell you if you don't want it, I understand. But there's a huge difference in a $100 chimney cap that you go buy and a $1,000 chimney cap that I install. Number one, you got to buy it and install it. But number two, your chimney cap for $100 covers the flue. And that's like, and I use this analogy all the time, that's wearing a baseball cap in a storm. This one top part of your chimney, the flue, is going to be okay, and the rest of your chimney is going to get soaked. My solution was a big umbrella that I install, that I warranty, and I watch out for, and it's going to absolutely cover your chimney from getting soaked. And understand, most chimneys are like a big sponge. So there's a big difference, and I just want to make sure you understand one is not equal to the other. And to your point, one opinion is not equal to facts and codes and standards. Couple more things before we go. Let's see. Kevin says, I love the uncomfortable conversation because I tell them that I don't want to be the bearer of bad news and tell them what the risk is of even a smaller crack, etc. So, to your point, you go in, one of your things you teach is, hey guys, kind of pre-telling them what we don't want to see. We want to make sure everything is okay. And when we look at this, we don't want to find cracks, even the smallest cracks. You don't want to find holes. And then when you do the scan, that's the importance of having, and that was important that you bring up. And do you want to talk about that process real quick?
Well, and to be clear, I teach positive language, right? I think a lot of technicians use negative language. They tell a customer, "Hey, I'm going to scan the chimney to make sure that you don't have any cracks, gaps, voids, obstructions, that type of thing." And then, and I used to teach that as well. I would say, "Hey, I want to make sure you don't have any of these things, and that you're good to go." And then I had one customer one time tell me, like, because we swept the fireplace. He was in his office, and by the time we brought him in, it's 20 minutes later, and we scanned the chimney, and of course we found a gap. And the guy, and I'll never forget it. He goes, "Well, isn't that convenient?" He goes, the one thing you didn't want to find there, oh, magically there it is. And it really stuck with me that he's right. He doesn't know me, and so from that point forward, I changed my entire process to be positive language. So what I am looking for, I want to see a nice smooth transition of this upside down funnel to to quickly vent all the byproducts of combustion into your flue system. I want to see that your flue is a nice tight straw, that all the tiles are in good shape, and that the gasket or the mortar joint that's holding it together is. And so when I find a deficiency, it's more of a contrast, right? It's a, this is what I wanted to see, but this is what I found. And so when I
I love that.
involve the customer in that scan, and they see that deficiency live for the first time, I then go through, and we could spend hours on this, going through the big three and explaining what that deficiency means to them. And I think time after time that are probably one of the biggest mistakes our technicians make is they're trying to fix a problem that the customer doesn't care about. Like if they're like, hey, your flue is broke, man, you got gaps, you got to, but we can't, you got to fix this. And if they don't care about that, they're never going to spend money on it. And so again, I think we could tangent in and spend like another half hour just on scanning flues and sales process. But this is what we want to see. I think that's the big thing, that you're on their side. It goes back to, and I actually added this to my MACA presentation because of you, that the whole hero versus guide thing. I think the technician always wants to be the hero of,
Yes.
hey, I found this problem, but don't worry, I can fix it.
Right.
And whenever you try to fix the problem, or you're trying to fix the fireplace, you're going to get those objections. You're going to get the customer saying, I don't know if I need that. I don't want that. How much is that? That's too much money. But when you are the guide that says, what do you want out of the system, and let me help you achieve that goal, then all of a sudden all the money they're spending is on achieving a goal that they wanted, and you just become the conduit to help them become their own hero. And so I think it's a fascinating kind of process that we sometimes try to tell them, hey, this is broke, you need to fix it, and we forget to say, if you don't care about that, it means nothing to you, and you can almost hear the price objections or the need objections now.
And it is part of what makes us love this industry, is because we're an expert in something that very few people are an expert in.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes when you're expert at something, you want to make sure everybody knows you're an expert. It's like, how do you know when you're talking to a pilot? They tell you, same thing with vegan. How do you know you're talking to a vegan? They tell you. Well, so, that's the same with chimney guys. A lot of times they can't wait to make sure you understand that they know something you don't, but you may not give a crap about it. And so that's the hero in the story. They're the hero in the story when they're talking to the customer. And to be the guy, say, I try to keep my knowledge on the backside until I need to deploy
That's
it.
right.
I try to, when I'm talking to people, keep it as simple as I can until they ratchet it up, and I can ratchet up to meet them. And sometimes you gotta flash roll them and freaking lay out the stuff to make sure, if they're being disrespectful or hard on you about something, you need to freaking make sure they know what the hell you're talking about, and you flash roll them, which is a whole nother conversation. Right. But in general, you don't do it. You hold it back. And then sometimes, absolutely, how amazing is it when somebody all of a sudden talks about something they're an expert in? You're like, oh, dang, I could hear this guy talk all day long. That's an amazing point when you can turn that on something that they've ratcheted up and care about. Again, you and I could keep going. A couple more. I
know.
I've got Matt Keats. Matt, my buddy, says, preach it. He was talking about you. Also, another thing, he says, Alan speaks truth, exclamation points. Taylor says, the other issue is so many leads coming in from all different areas that aren't being watched, getting harder and harder to manage leads coming in. It's interesting. Yeah, it's true. Like, they can come in from a million areas, and if you don't answer your Instagram question or some other random thing, like, you get people saying that, like you said, and then tracking it back to that, that's a very interesting topic. Afton, hey, Afton, glad you're watching. He says, our findings are objective, not subjective. Exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And then Taylor says, awesome, Alan. Matt Keats, love the analogy. And then a couple more things. I thank you guys for all the interaction. Yeah. It makes it great. It makes it so much more relevant. And, we're here to help. I mean, I'm not doing this for the fun of it. I got a video games I can play. I got a racing game I like to play.
Dude, I'm so behind on my Angry Birds.
Your Angry Birds, like you're losing, levels. But so Vince asked a question, and I know the answer to this, but a little bit of this can be difficult to go through. This was great, guys. Good info. One last question before I head out. what are your cleaning and inspection rates for 2022? Have you increased pricing on service? So clearly, I can't totally answer that, Vince, because there's some anti, price fixing, not we're price fixing, but there's a range, and you're in Chicago, which is different than Iowa. So for you, number one, yes, we've increased prices multiple times this year. And to that, if we have to slow down and I got to move the number down, I can, if it helps
Yep.
make the phone get more jobs. But in general, the answer to that question is what one company charges should almost have very little to do with what you charge, because your cost of doing business, your goals, your profitability, your overhead, all those things are an answer for Vince, not for Mark and Alan or anybody else for that matter. Now, you can position yourself once you know your numbers and costs, and you can say, let's just say you know that you need to charge minimum 279, but everybody else is charging 379. Like, you can move your number up. But the problem, the dangerous part is if you don't know your numbers and you're too low and literally
Yep.
losing money, and you're keeping up with the Joneses, but you have a higher overhead, you have a shorter runway to make your money. Say you want to be out in 5 years, and there's so many factors that you literally don't want to take advice from anybody other than your accountant, bookkeeper, internal people to know the price first that you have to charge your break even. For sure, you need to know that. What's it cost to have your lights on, per hour, per minute for your business? And then you can base everything off of it and adjust. But you really need to know those numbers. I would hate to tell you even any number. It could be very wrong for you. Do you have any
Yeah, there's. I don't think you could have said that any better. I wouldn't have said it as articulate as you did. I mean, it's a very dangerous game when people start to talk about numbers. If you don't know what you need to be charging, you need to probably hire someone that is a specialist in helping you understand your numbers and what you need to be charging and what your percentages need to be. But generally, I can tell you, yes, the majority, if not all, of my clients had some sort of price increase in 2022. But exactly what you just said, if your phones are slowing down, if you are, the phones are a lever, right? Or the pricing is a lever that if you're booked out, 2 months on sweeps and inspections, then by golly, I assure you, you're not charging enough, right? Like raise the price until that levels out, even if it's just for a few weeks period of time. If I'm going to give a customer a premium slot in the middle of November, then I'm going to, earn premium profit for that
right?
appointment. I mean, I've legit, without even going into numbers, I've legit had people double their sweep and inspection prices for like a 2 month period out of the year because they can, you know.
Well, when I did some work after Katrina down in Louisiana, we sent crews down there to work because there was so much need. And there were people charging, and this was in what, 2006 or whatever year that was,
Yeah,
$800 for a level one inspection.
yeah,
Because one, they could get it. Two, it was hard to do the work. And three, they needed it for FEMA to be able to fill out the paperwork. So it could take you half a day to do a level one to get through that mess. But I knew a guy that was charging $800 to $1,000 for a level one, and because he could, and because he also had to take into account what he couldn't get done when he did the level one, fighting through a wrecked city. So to that point, Vince, another thing is you got gas prices that change, you got insurance that changes, you've got cost of living, you've got benefits to pay, and in all those, if let's just say you're competing against a guy that doesn't provide that stuff. I live in the country. I drive, my radius is 10 miles, but yours in Chicago is 30. Your cost is this. You want to provide benefits for your employees, but I don't. Well, there's a different level that we have to charge, and you got to make sure you got to know your number first. Best information I can say to kind of
yep.
put a button on that. Another thing, Kevin, I love the responses. So thank you for hanging in with me. I know we're about 20 minutes over. Kevin says, best answer is, sir, ma'am, I've been a business owner, an employee, and a homeowner, and I see it from all sides. And you will do what you will. But from my experience, it's my job to let you know all the issues. I'm here to check it and do as you wish. Because me, I would love to know what's going. I think because I would love to know what's going on. So I think if it were me, I would love to know what's
Yeah.
going on and then make that decision. Again, you're a guide for them. You're not, you're not, and also you're not you can't predict doom either. The last thing you should say is, "Oh, you're about to burn your house down."
Yeah.
Like only time I ever said that is when it was really charred and literally smoking in a wall. Like I got a
Right.
call from a lady after I told her, I said, "You got to change these mantles." And she's like, "Well, I'm going to have a party tonight." And I tell the story that she had these vent-free like coal baskets, and I'm saying, "You got to change these mantles before you use it." She goes, "Well, I'm just going to use them now." Like I wouldn't recommend it. Well, sure enough, she was burning about 3-4 hours into her party. Everybody's like, "Wow, these really smell like real wood burning. These are amazing." And I'm like, yeah, I mean, yes, you're about to burn your house down. Like that's the time. But in general, all the things are lining up. We're trying to be safe and give you a heads up.
Yeah.
I don't know the percentage. I can't predict it, but your chances are more likely because of the situations happening.
Yeah.
Trust me, if you want, do whatever you want. Some people wear seatbelts, some people don't. You might be fine.
Right.
It might be life-changing event. So anyway, great stuff tonight, Alan. You got anything else in closing?
No, man, I think this has been awesome. I look forward to seeing. I guess I'll see you in DC tomorrow, and then we'll see everybody that's at the MACA event Thursday, Friday. And if you can't make it to Virginia, hop on the Zoom. It's going to be we're going to be giving some new content. I know at least my presentation is about 70% new information that I've never presented publicly before. I did a lot of research on 2022 customer experience, and there's a lot of reiteration of sales stuff that I've done before. So looking forward to sharing that with people, and I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody else has to say. But my only sales pitch is, if you haven't signed up for my Rush Profits Monday morning meeting minutes, what's wrong with you? Get on
Clearly
there.
something wrong with it. It's cheap. It works. I mean, I agree. I'm a fan. You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But yeah, no, man, thanks for having me, and thanks for all the interaction. This is
Yeah.
I really look forward to doing these.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan. And I'll see you in a couple of days.
All right, see you, man.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I did have one final question, and Jeremiah Monday said, "Very curious to the pricing and workload during a crisis like Katrina." So, we took a crew down there from Nashville. We got a call. It actually came through the National Chimney Sweep Guild. This guy reached out to the industry and said, "Hey, I'm a homeowner in the Garden District down here in Louisiana, and my contractors left with the flood, and they haven't come back. I need to get the chimneys fixed before I can get the roof fixed because it's flooding my house, and I've got to get this done." And I said, "Look, I'm interested in coming down there for it." And I had him pay my way and I had to pay for the estimate that I gave him. And but it was to that point, it was super hard to get around the city. So let's just say your daily rate is at the time, say $1,600. Well, you could probably only get 2 inspections done a day. And because it was so hard to get around the city and work, so what's your half day rate? Well, $800. Well, that's a level 1 inspection. As crazy as it is, it was a bargain for the customers because they had to get it done and then charge it to insurance anyway. And for me as a business owner, we had people chasing us around like on the interstate, flagging us down, trying to do inspections. Like it was like we were driving an ice cream truck around Louisiana. We'd pull over and they're like, "Hey, can you come over? I know you're working on this. Can you come over and give me an inspection real quick?" And I'm not saying we were charging $800. There was a friend of mine that was, because that's all he was doing. We still charged a lot of money, but it was a hard work environment. So to that point, we're not trying to rip people off. We only have so much time in the day. It's also a lot of insurance work that was scalable and was payable. Like we only have so much time. And when you can't get around the city, well, imagine this. Imagine you have to do an inspection 2 hours away. Like what would you charge then? And it's 2 hours back. So it was kind of like that process. So you have to charge what you're worth. And that's what the free market's all about. But to that point, we answered the call, went down there, bid the job. It was a very big job. It was bigger, one of the biggest jobs I'd ever done. All these chimneys had to be redone on this house. It was 50 foot to the gutter. And then the roof was 1412 pitch. We had to remove, and there was asbestos tiles on it. We had to have a company remove those. We built steps into the roof all the way up, and then a 70 or 80 foot scaffold tower from the backyard to the top of the chimney. It was very extensive. I couldn't figure out how to bid it totally right. So what I did was I did a cost plus. I said, and he gave us condos to stay in. I brought my guys. I gave him all the tickets. I showed him all the tickets, including what I made per hour, what my guys made per hour. I gave him all that. Plus, I had a 30% markup on top of every single bill I gave him, and he agreed to it. And we made a 30% margin on top of all the expenses, and it was worth it for me because there was almost no way to bid it. How hard it was to get around and do stuff, and I gave them all our food expenses, every single expense I had, gas, everything I had, plus a 30% markup. It was a cost plus deal. He said deal. And then what was amazing was as we got going, we found other problems. The other chimney company had left and we had to tear out a bunch of stuff. He's like, do it. I want it done right the first time. So the job getting bigger and bigger. And it became a really good job for us and a learning process of how to bid bigger kind of unknown jobs. So that's what we did. Guys, thank you for sticking with me. We've had a great crew, a great interaction. I appreciate all the information. Ron, thank you. Scott Scraper, man, I haven't seen you for a while. Good to hear from you and from Vince. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. We'll do it again next week. Talk to you soon.